I'm going to show you how to do a near enough invisible spot repair on this bed. Body shop say you can't do this, so they can rip you off. One slip and I'm buffing right through the paint. I mean, you can really mess this up if you don't get it right. Not a deep chip, it's obviously reversed into something or sand smooth. This one's a bit too deep, so I'm going to show you what I do with this. I knew it had been done before anyway. The parking sensors got silver paint all over it. What I can see here is, you know, you've got a primer or maybe a glaze filler that's gone over there. Can make it trickier. You've just got to watch out for potential reactions, paintwork sinking. I want to key up inside where it's deep. I don't want to keep digging into the plastic because it just creates a bigger dent around it. So what I want to do is just key up inside them little deep chips. So what this is UV putty, just used for plugging in little holes like this. Nothing, you know, nothing too big. And it's both better and quicker. And normally anything that's quicker comes at a cost. That normally costs quality, you know, cutting corners and all that. So this stuff is better than any other putty I've used. I've used a couple of brands. I mean, any UV putty. This is the lamp, so you won't even need a minute with the lamp on it. Like I say, it's quicker and better. The reason it's better is because it's not shrinking. So any other putties and that, there'll be a bit of shrinkage, even filler. You know, the hardener will evaporate out the filler if it's the wrong mix and whatever. But this stuff, it's just one product that's going on and it's dry and solid. And you know it's solid because when you're sanding it, it does feel harder than normal filler. That now is solid. Didn't even have a minute with the lamp. Good for sanding now. From 320, I'm going to block this with. See how hard it is. It's just dusting off. Also been using a lot of this stuff as well, which is a lot better than scotching. And also when you DA, you run the risk of going through, you know, lines and stuff, and you can't be as delicate as you would want. So this stuff's a lot quicker and it's keying up a lot better. Now, and believe me, you can really mess this up if you don't get it right. Not many people can do it, so I'll show you how I do it. It works, but you know, bear in mind it can go bad. What I'm doing is going down the line and over the line slightly. Body shops say you can't do this, so they can rip you off. Keying up, not just on the line, but over the line slightly. I'll come to that at the end of the video. It's all being prepped for primer. So this stuff does exactly what it says on the tin. If you're not using UV primer through the can, you're stuck in the times, honestly, because it saves you having to clean your gun. You know, the guns are getting ruined. Assume you don't have to mask up as much because there's not as much overspray. It's just quicker, you know, you just shake the can and spray it out. It's the exact same stuff through the can or through the gun. So, you know, it's a no-brainer to get on the cans. I know the people who are stuck in the times are like, oh, you can't do it through a can, but UV primer, Pro XL, you can. Obviously, doing spot repairs, you've got to be careful you don't go too tight to the edge. So this is the Scan Grip UV light. That's going to give it a minute. So this stuff's had 2 coats, a minute with the lamp each one, and look, sanding off like dust already. So what I've done, the video actually went off, but I've pulled it back slightly to allow the dust coat to go over. So if you do it wrong here, you're left with basically a grey line going down. So this will be ready to lacquer. You can see it's all, the base coat's matte, You know, we put the lacquer on, that is the gloss. So the heat off the gun will naturally push this back. So as the heat off the gun is pushing it back, it's opening up slightly. So it softens that edge off. So you're not left with, like if you just done a hard edge, you're left with a hard edge, but not only that, it sort of looks like grey when it's not done right. Because silver is the hardest colour to paint. Never mind doing like a spot repair. So yeah, get to lacquer it now. So the heat off the gun will naturally push this back. So as the heat off the gun is pushing it back, it's opening up slightly. So it softens that edge off. So you're not left with, like if you just done a hard edge, you're left with a hard edge, but not only that, it sort of looks like grey when it's not done right. Because this silver is the worst colour for, because silver is the hardest colour to paint. Never mind doing like a spot repair. So yeah, get to lacquer it now. So what we're left with here is a soft edge that's gone over the line, and you can sort of see them sander marks from before. That's why I've sanded over it, because I leave it open and the lacquer blows in over the edge. What I do now is I buff the edge in. So I've made sure the lacquer's covered over the base by a couple of mil, and then I buff the edge in. And yeah, this is how we do. You can see one slip and I'm buffing right through the paint. If it lacked durability, it would have come off with the buffer then. So there's no hard edge. Do the flash off as well, so you can see. That's a tidy job. The only reason I say it's enough invisible is because it's, you know, to a trained eye, you can always tell it's being painted. I could tell it, the cars had paint on it before. I could see bits where it pulled the tape off. Then by the number plate, you can see bits in the paint there. The parking sensor being painted over. So it had a sloppy job previously. There's other bits of paint on it, and even in a good job, even in Bentley. I met a guy the other week who worked in Bentley factory, and his job was quality control, and you know, the amount of stuff getting sent back between being made, painted, and then, you know, something will get scratched in the factory, get sent back to get done because it's not good enough. So, you know, wherever you go, we can always tell. Not one of them to tell people it'll be perfect, it'll be brand new, because it's not. But you can see, let me work through the talking. It's a good job. Spot repairs come in handy, you know, but like I say, you can make a real mess of that. There's a few things in, it looks easy, but there's a few things in that you can make a mess with. So yeah, just let me know in the comments what you do yourself, if you do anything different, if you do spot repairs, or also if you want to learn more towards finishing up smart repairs and, you know, potential future training as well. I'll put the link below.